Now, Wolves are in talks with Julen Lopetegui over mutually terminating his contract. Former Bournemouth manager Gary O'Neill is a candidate to take over. Let's go live once again to our reporter Daniel Khan, who is at Molineux. Daniel, good evening to you. So, having taken over in November when the club were bottom of the table and turned things around, why has it come to this with Julen Lopetegui?
Yeah, good evening, David. As you mentioned there, he took Wolves from the bottom of the table just before the World Cup last year and guided them to safety up to 13th. And it was actually at the end of last season where this kind of begins, when they beat Aston Villa here at Molineux, cemented their Premier League safety for another season. And I actually sat down with Lopetegui the week after that, and he was very vocal in terms of wanting reinforcements this summer. He was very eager to speak to the ownership at Wolves around what finances would be available in the summer, because he really didn't want to be in another relegation battle as he found himself in last year. And to give you some more context to that, this is a manager who has been at Real Madrid, who has managed the Spain national side, won multiple European competitions with Sevilla as well. But he described keeping Wolves up as one of the biggest achievements of his career. So very much a situation he didn't want to be in again. But when you look at the summer Wolves have had, they've had some really significant outgoings. Former captain Ruben Neves, Julen Lopetegui, Nathan Collins, who went to Brentford. There's some really big players there who have had to leave due to the financial constraints Wolves find themselves in. And I think that's something Lopetegui only found out himself towards the end of last season. So I think a lot of the frustrations stem there. In terms of incomings, Darmesh mentioned it just before the break there. They've only been able to bring in Matt Doherty on a free this summer. So again, not necessarily the incomings that Lopetegui would want. On the other hand, Wolves may argue in the last 12 months, they've been able to bring in players to plan for this. So if you look at the midfield, they've brought in the likes of João Gomez, Mateus Nunes and Boubacar Traoré, all young players in midfield who have a lot of potential. Sasha Kalisic as well, remember, Wolves signed last summer. He was injured practically all season after injuring himself on debut. So they do have a good squad there, but Lopetegui seems, especially after Jeff Sheehan, the ownership, released an open letter earlier this week talking further about those financial constraints, it seems now both parties have decided that Lopetegui may not be taking this team on ahead of that Manchester United game on Monday night.
And in terms of if that does prove to be the case and they are looking for a replacement, is Gary O'Neill the leading candidate, Daniel?
Yeah, I think Gary O'Neill is very much someone Wolves like, David. And if Lopetegui is to leave his position at Wolves, O'Neill would be something that, if we look at what Lopetegui achieved last year, Gary O'Neill achieved similar incredible feats at Bournemouth last season. They were no doubt favourites to be relegated, but he worked under very tight financial constraints, especially in the first part of the season before they were taken over by new ownership. He's shown that he can work under those financial constraints, and the way he guided them to safety last year, and also the football that they played, I think Wolves would find that very attractive. And undoubtedly, David, whoever comes in, if Lopetegui is to leave, they're going to need a big lift from the manager that comes in, because, as I mentioned, they've lost some big names in the changing room on the playing side, like Ruben Neves and Julen Lopetegui. And if they do lose Lopetegui, having spoke to a lot of the players over the last 12 months, he was someone they really admired and they loved working with. So we'll have to wait and see whether they do go for O'Neill if Lopetegui is to go. But David, we could be seeing the first manager leave this Premier League season before it's begun.
Daniel, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Well, you can see the first Monday Night Football of the season. Daniel referenced it there. Manchester United take on Wolves at Old Trafford. Our coverage starts at 6:30 on Sky Sports Premier League and Main Event.